Yeah, I was wondering if I could get a hold of Nana. This is Kevin calling with Elyse Peterson. Hello?
Hey, now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Mike Ortiz with Mike Ortiz. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Mike Ortiz, and welcome to another exciting episode. Oh no, do y'all hear that echo? There's an echo going on. Alright, let's try and wrap that out. Alright, that should do it. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, what's up? How we doing? We got rid of the echo in like record time today. I missed you all this weekend. I didn't do a stream. Sorry, I didn't do a stream on Thursday or Friday, actually, or Wednesday of last week. I'm sorry. I had to go out of town. I had to be in San Francisco, and I ended up doing a stream with Tealet, who's a frequent watcher and a good dear friend and family. And we did a live stream on her channel out in. You're not hearing an echo. Oh, good. Well, I was able to fix it. I think it was just on my end. It was like I had Facebook open to make sure that the chat was happening. So whatever, all good. Either way, we fixed it in record time. But yeah, we had a nice long session. We had some Burmese food, and we drank some. What tea did we drink again? It was out of a Gaiwan. We drank that 2006 Tealet 7542. 7542. It was ripe pour. So today, I'd like for us. Well, actually, I've been drinking this. This is an aged Tie Guan Yin, and Tie Guan Yin is a Chinese oolong tea that's like a ball rolled, and it's lightly oxidized. And aging of tea is like such an interesting topic, because a lot of people insist that you can only age pu'er, or you can age anything, or you can age white tea. Like there's so many. I've heard so many different things over the years of what is an appropriate tea to age and what is not, right? And I thought it would be, and we also enjoyed some black Korean teas. That's right, we did. They have all these different herbs that are available in California that make it hard to remember which herbs you were enjoying at any particular time and the name of the particular ones, because all the herbs in California have different strains and different names, and then it makes it hard to remember which herb you were enjoying at which particular time. But we definitely enjoyed Korean black tea, which is interesting, It's super rare to find a Korean black tea in my experience, because Korean tea culture is very much in line with Japanese tea culture in the sense that it's focused around very ancient Chinese tea, where the tea leaves were plucked and steamed. And I know that that's like the original lineage of the tea in Japan. And I know that I've always heard that Korean tea is very similar to Japanese tea, and the Korean teas that I've tasted have all been green teas. So it's pretty cool that Elyse had some Korean black tea for us to try. That was a lot of fun. Now, today I'm brewing an aged Tie Guan Yin, as we said, and I want us let's taste this and see what it's like. I'll brew it. I'm trying to mess with this overhead camera, but it's tricky because I feel like right here it's a little too far from the camera. You can see the little thing on the upper right there that shows the tea, but I feel like I want it to be like here, in order for you to really be able to see it well. But then this camera would be like right here and would be blocking everything. So maybe if I raise this, I don't know. We learn, Yeah. I don't know. I'll figure something out. Anyway, for this time, this is what we've got. You can enjoy my kettle and tins of matcha, and you can enjoy my mixer over here. need a drone cam. That's right. Yeah, like aged oolong has this like really cool fruitiness. Like it smells and tastes like jammy concentrated fruit in a really interesting way. Like figs, you know. I jammed this pot full of tea. You can see up there. You see it's like packed right up to the brim. It's so much so that it even like overflows. And as a result, the initial flavor profile of this tea is really intense. It's like woof, overwhelming. But then it stays on the breath in a really nice kind of thick figgy way. So let's talk about culture wars. Too strong. Damn, it looks pretty slanted, huh? I gotta fix that camera. Yeah. One sec. Talk for a minute, and then I'll take a break and I'll get the camera situation a little better until we can afford a drone anyway. So yeah, I think that this issue of the culture wars, I want to talk about it a little bit, because it's just different worldviews that are arguing with each other. You know, it's not even like I think that we attribute ourselves to the worldview that we carry, you know, and if that, you know, if we think of ourselves as conservatives, then we identify with conservatism, and the things that challenge conservatism, we view them as challenges to ourselves, and the same thing with liberalism and so forth, right? But I've been doing a little bit of reading, which is very strange for me. I haven't read a lot. No, I'm playing. I think that's funny. So, I'm reading about worldviews, right? And the development of different worldviews in humanity. And the beginning with you know, the most basic worldview is like an archaic, animalistic, you know, just basic existence. You know, we need to eat, and we're just bones and flesh, and out for survival. You know, and like, you know, thankfully most of us have transcended that, and can see beyond that. But I think that like the next step in the worldviews is a mythic worldview, right? And the mythic worldview believes that certain deities control reality with absolute control, and they govern our particular reality. and their realities are absolute, and their rules are absolute, and so forth. And then that governs one worldview, right? And then and I'm just talking about something that I've been reading, so I wanted to talk about it out loud and kind of think about it and see if we could engage in any conversation about it. But so we begin with this this mythic worldview. Usually, like by the time that we're 7 or 8 years old is when we're really deep in the mythic worldview, where we believe that our parents are like the arbiters of absolute reality, and they are gods, and they are the ultimate decision makers. Then as we grow beyond that, we enter more of a pluralistic kind of tribalistic view. Usually by the time that we're like teenagers, we have our group and we have our tribe, and we think beyond ourselves to our tribe, and then that's like and if we can compare that to a worldview, I think we can call that like a rational worldview that is a beginning toward a pluralistic worldview. Let's have some more tea. One second. I want to get rid of a little bit of these leaves. So, and then this like a rational worldview, right? It seems like that started with like the real interest in like objective truths and in the scientific enlightenment, and that kind of helped us understand science beyond like mythic rules, beyond like, oh, it's just whatever Jesus says. And it started this huge clash. This is like the time of the Spanish Inquisition and so forth, and like this is the time that religion really started clashing with science, and Galileo and so forth. So I think that like there's this scientific reductionist worldview, right? That is trying to reduce everything to just rules, and to the rules of physics, to the rules of psychology, to the rules of sociology, to the rules of the economy. And the rational worldview tries to believe that there are objective universal truths outside of which the subjective experience of the individual doesn't really matter. It's just there are scientific rules, and we are matter, and it's all matter being governed by scientific rules, right? And then there is like the pluralistic postmodern worldview that says that all beings have their own subjective experience, and that therefore there is no like overriding universal truth, that we all have our own individual truth that we're experiencing, and that's that, right? And the only truth, as posited by postmodernism, is that there is no overarching truth. So, which is kind of a contradiction in terms, right? And what this philosopher that I'm like kind of working through his materials, his name is Ken Wilber. What he talks about is like there are certain like empirical truths, that are bigger than that are empirically true. Like for example, that are not necessarily they're a part of hierarchies, but not necessarily dominator hierarchies. So what does that mean? It's like in the same way that like an atom is part of a molecule, but the molecule doesn't dominate the atom. The atom is a whole unit, but it exists also within the molecule, and then the molecule doesn't really dominate the atom. They are a part of each other, as part of a whole. And then in the same way, like that molecule is part of a cell, and the cell doesn't necessarily dominate the molecule. They exist harmoniously, but the molecule is part of the cell, right? So in that same way, there are certain patterns and empirical truths throughout reality that transcend the subjective experience and that are actually true, and recognizing that in the light of or painted by everybody's subjective experience is like an ultimate goal. But at any rate, the culture war seems to be that's what I wanted to talk about, because the culture war seems to be it's like three worldviews, right? It's the mythic worldview, and that's the people that really believe in in Jesus as sky god, deciding everything in the moment and making it happen in the moment, and then there's and that's at one, let's call that one level of or one worldview in the culture war, right? Then the next worldview is the purely rational worldview, right? And they believe that the economy and the universe are all governed by hard and fast objective rules, and that's all there is to it, and that the rules apply to everybody equally, and it doesn't matter any particulars. It's just the rules are the rules, and that's it. And then there's the postmodern view, the third one, the third kind of party in the culture war, that says that everybody's experience is true because it's theirs, and it can't be denied because they're having it. And who are we to deny the reality of their immediate experience, which is pretty undeniable, and which is the point that I wanted to talk about. It's I think that it's funny the way that the conflicts happen so organically and so quickly, because at the end of the day, they're all aiming for the same thing, really. It's the mythic people, by connecting with Jesus, or connecting with their particular religion or their particular God, they're trying to further integrate themselves with the heavenly, ultimate, beautiful, grand reality, right? I want to have a little bit more funk. And that's cool, because based on their worldview, those people aren't gonna reach a satisfaction or a real thorough direction, right? Until they're fully in line with their God's rules, because their experience of goodness and of happiness and of bliss includes the loving smile of God, right? So I think that we make our best decisions and we make our best kind of breakthroughs when we're in good places intellectually. And in order to be at a good place intellectually, we need to be safe physically, we need to be free creatively, we need to have a solid sense of self, we need to have an open sense of compassion. Yeah, I don't know. So I think that the mythic worldview is not completely off. It's not it's not completely full of shit. In fact, it by I don't know, I can't see that emotic. T Ferry, word T Ferry. Um, so yeah, I think like this idea of like I love this music. Let's just, here, 1 second. Do I believe in fairies? I mean, I think it's like, I don't know how to answer that question honestly, because I think that like let me how do you answer that? Yes, but under certain conditions. Yeah, but under certain conditions I do. So like, yeah, so like we can't be upset with like the mythic crowd for like following those rules, you know. Fairies believe, thank God I think fairies believe in you when you believe in fairies. Damn, that's a tough one. Fairies believe in you, and fairies believe in you too, Elyse. So okay, so let's so let's go beyond I appreciate it when fairies believe in me, because fairies don't have to believe in me. So I think that like the first kind of step in my little culture wars talk is that I wanted to say like I don't think it makes sense to like kind of to what am I trying to say, to demonize religious people. And that's something that I struggle, because I grew up like really hardcore Catholic, you know. I grew up like really strong Catholic, and you know, sometimes like with, you know, the policies and so forth, and just like in the wars and the support for the wars and so forth, it's I've sometimes been frustrated, you know, by religion, and I think that it's misguided. I think that that's wrong, you know. I think that's wrong. Of course, anything is like, when it becomes damaging, that's bad, right? So when your practice of your particular religion causes damage, then yeah, that's pretty bad, and war is pretty damaging. So I think I got a point there, but I think that like the demonizing of the people in particular, it's like those people are trying, like all of us, in order to reach our like happiness, there needs to be like a integrity, like and integrity, like the root of the word integrity has to do with integration, in something being integral, you know. And so somebody whose worldview is based around satisfying the different rules of a particular god, like if they can satisfy all those rules in an effective way, then they're gonna reach a real satisfying state of equilibrium and of kind of like a spiritual accomplishment, let's call it, right? And I think that like as a result of experiencing that, then there's the opportunity for further breakthroughs that can get them to break through mythic worldviews into more rational worldviews, based on the way that a reality behaves once you have, you know, once they reach those levels, ideally, you know. Yeah, so I think that like people that are practicing religion should be encouraged to practice religion, because at the end of the day, they're just doing something that they really believe is good, you know. Again, unless they're like doing something that's really bad, in which case maybe they shouldn't be encouraged. Let's make some tea. All right, I was catching up with the Facebook chat a little bit. For some reason, the Facebook chat isn't coming through on the old restream here, so it's hard to see it. But you know, one day stuff like that won't happen anymore, and that's gonna be a very special day. Hey, big thanks to John Albano for the music. This is John Albano on the 1, 2, 3s, 4s, and also on 5s and 6s. All right. So I want to get back to my little diatribe because I was thinking about this today. So then after the mythic crowd, there's the rational crowd, right? And that's the crowd that is not so concerned with any mythic rules. They're concerned with the rules of science and with rationality and logic and trying to execute everything on that level, right? It's interesting because like I noticed that like in the creation of art and in acting and in the creation of music and in the like creative expression of the moment, there's a certain kind of like a pre-rational impulse that one needs to be able to follow, you know, just like to be able to like dance freely or to play basketball competitively and like, you know, kind of execute a move before you even know what move you're gonna do, you know. There's like this like freedom that and this like nature of human interaction that takes place like before thought. It's too quick like for thought to happen. Like a football game or like a fight, it happens so fast that there's no, or like a football play I should say, it happens so fast that there's no time to think, you know. And I think that like in order to execute that well, one can't be like lost in one's head, you know. Like as an actor, sometimes they say like, oh, that guy's he's in his head, or like if somebody's in a boxing match and you see them kind of overthinking and they're getting kind of beat up, but they're not able to react in the moment because they're thinking, and you can see them thinking. That's like, I think like an addiction to logic and to ration, you know. Because I think that holds us back from being able to like react in the moment, you know. And I think that's the trap of kind of over intellectualizing things, and that trap exists with tea, and that trap exists with anything, you know. But that's not to negate the ultimate like benefit of ration and analysis, and being able to really like think things through and think them through from different angles to try and like assess the best way to move forward. So like the people that are arguing like purely on the rules of science and on the rules of ration, it's like you know, they shouldn't be demonized either, because they're trying to find a structure that's going to lead them to peace of mind, and that's going to lead us all to peace of mind, right? So like but at the same time, like they're they they fight desperately in the culture war that that everything needs to be done in their way, and everything needs to be done to the benefit of the economy, and that's rationally, like outside of the material effects of like what happens with the environment due to the business, and outside of the effect of what happens to the people doing business. It's all about the profit purely, because rationally the profit is the resources, and then you can use that to do any amount of good. So I think that like that's like the weakness of the purely rational, the purely logical worldview, the overly scientific industrial worldview, the reductionistic worldview. That I think that's like the weakness of it, that it doesn't recognize the consequences on a subjective level, on a collective level, and on an environmental level. But what's remarkable about that is that, like, think about how much human evolution had to happen in order to get to that rational worldview, Because in the industrial age is when slavery was made illegal in all democracies around the world. So, like, when it took, like, from the Big Bang through the creation of Earth, through all of the ages leading up to the first human, and the birth of humanity and our civilization, like, it took all of that time up until like the 1800s, which was pretty recent, I guess like the scientific revolution started around the 1600s and 1500s. Yeah, that was when we were already like sailing the world, and so forth. If any of you watching this think I'm laughably stupid, please enjoy and have fun. So like, what am I trying to say? That it took all that time for us to get to a place that now we can look back at and realize is still like oversimplified, right? Because it doesn't take the subjective experience of the individual into account. It takes place in this like hypothetical conceptual reality that doesn't exist, The song is called Disc Golf. Disc golf. So, which then leads us to like the whole postmodern thing, which really took off in the 60s, with like the student revolutions and so forth. And even before that, with like Dadaism and surrealism in art, and even in the workers' rights movements, of the like Woody Guthrie's time, all of that was speaking directly to a pluralistic worldview where like the rights were of the workers and of the students, and because everybody had their individual experience, there was no objective reality to be discerned. It's almost like The Secret says that it's like, oh, you need to find your own dream and your own reality, and then make your dreams come true, and then that will be your reality, and so forth. Like, that's the kind of postmodern worldview that is that's also like desperately fighting in the culture war, because the problem with all three of the worldviews is that they all believe that they're right, and they are. but I don't think that, like, what am I trying to say? They are, but they all believe that they are the only ones that are right, and they're all right at the same time. So I think that like part of our like we all know how much chaos and friction and lack of harmony there is in America at this time. It's crazy. Like, I'm sure that none of us while we were pledging allegiance to the American flag in elementary school could ever dream of the state of affairs that we're in, and speaking purely regarding like the amount of conflict and division, so I think that it's important to understand the different worldviews that are engaging in these culture wars, right? Because if these worldviews are engaging in these culture wars, then that's gonna express itself in different ways at our family dinners, and when we get together with our friends, and when we catch up with somebody that we haven't seen in a long time. Especially now in COVID, it's like in this era, it's like the last year has boom, slipped right by. So, somebody that it kind of feels like you haven't seen them in a little bit of time, but you actually haven't seen them in like 14 months, and people change, So I think that in light of that, and in light of the amount of kind of pent up tension that we've got, I wanted to talk about that because I think it would be good for us to understand kind of where those different worldviews are coming from when the religious crowd is trying to make us follow rules, and when the religious crowd is themselves following rules so aggressively. I think it's so aggressively following rules. That's funny. I think it's important to remember that they're doing to encourage that, not to and I'm calling myself out because I've I've said, I've been frustrated by it in the past, and I think it's no, it should be encouraged because that's their path, and that's what's gonna give them the most holistic peace and happiness in order for them to make the best possible decisions for themselves moving forward. And then for the of course, with the caveat that as long as it's not hurting anybody, if they believe that in order to satisfy Jesus, it's really important that they punch everybody in the nuts as hard as they can, then it doesn't matter how much you love Jesus. You cannot do that. In the same way, the economy focused, purely rational focused, hyper cerebral, it's good, their analysis should be celebrated, and it should be encouraged, as long as it doesn't hurt people, as long as they're not so wrapped up in their hypothetical economic reality that they don't care if they're poisoning the water of Flint for however long. And then for the pluralists, it's important to encourage multicultural experience and to celebrate the multicultural experience, because that's the absolute that's the pinnacle of the human experience, right? It's it was never possible to the scale that it's possible now. We can learn anything about any culture in an instant, and with the caveat that we can't do that at the cost of losing our own roots and our own self, and our own breath and our own center, and how that connects us to our own spirit, and the way that our own spirit connects us with our own duty and booty. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for tuning in today. I'm gonna take that opportunity to sign off. Thanks for listening to me rant a little bit today. It was a good time. That was today's show for Monday, March 15th. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll be drinking some more tea. We'll be talking tea, and we'll be talking to you, and we'll be having fun. So thanks for tuning in. Cheers.